Among the many diverse guests that stayed here at Hearst Castle, especially in the 1920s and 30s, world leaders were included in the group. World leaders such as Winston Churchill of Great Britain, who in 1929 stayed here in Casa del Monte, or Bee House. Another prominent individual and world leader to visit Hearst Castle was Manuel Quezon, who in 1935 was the newly elected president of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. He visited the castle sometime in 1935 or beyond, but before World War II. Manuel Quezon was a skilled politician and lawyer who worked tirelessly for the freedom of the Philippine Islands from the United States. He was involved in Philippine politics and United States politics for over 40 years. Manuel Quezon was born in 1878 to school teachers on the east coast of Luzon. His father served in the Spanish colonial army before becoming a teacher. Being better privileged than most, Quezon went to college to study law, but left school during the struggle for independence from Spain and then from the United States. In 1899, during the Philippine insurrection against the United States after the Spanish-American War, a war heavily sensationalized in Hearst's newspapers, Quezon, an officer in General Emiliano Aguinaldo's staff, fought against the Americans, was later captured, and was imprisoned for 6 months after the insurrection. He would eventually be freed and he would return to law school, graduating in 1903. He was in his mid-20s, intelligent, and becoming a master of political intrigue and drama when he immersed himself in Philippine politics, in the newly created territorial government modeled after the American system of government. Quezon would later become immersed in American politics as well, serving in the U.S. Congress, coincidentally, a few years after William Randolph Hearst was himself a member of the United States Congress. Hearst was elected to the House of Representatives from New York City and served from 1902 until 1906. He also ran for mayor of New York, governor of New York, and the presidency. In 1909, 3 years later, Quezon was serving as one of the 2 residential commissioners to the United States Congress, representing the interests and concerns of the acquired territory of the Philippines. He would serve in that capacity from 1909 to 1916. Quezon, while in Washington, was still a bachelor and gregarious. He frequently mingled with congressmen and administration officials at dinner parties and long lunches. He was affectionately known as Casey. He was an excellent poker player and a gifted pianist. He displayed a flashier style compared to the older, calmer resident commissioner. Quezon would hire a tutor and use the Spanish-English dictionary to better his English. He also acted like a publicist, more than a lawmaker. Quezon himself called the capital at once the best university and the nicest playhouse in the world. After his term ended in 1916, Quezon left the United States, returned to the Philippine politics, but continued to have influence in Washington. He was elected to the Philippine Senate and eventually, after almost 2 decades, was elected president. By this time, he was married and had 4 children. In 1937, Quezon, along with his entourage, visited the MGM studios in Hollywood. While at the Hollywood studios, Quezon was photographed alongside Clark Gable, Myrna Loy, Maureen O'Sullivan, and Jean Harlow. William Randolph Hearst, and most likely one of the studio's leading actresses, and Hearst's girlfriend and hostess at San Simeon, Marion Davies. This may have led up to Quezon's visit to the castle. Even Marion Davies writes about Quezon's visit to the castle at San Simeon in her book, The Times We Had, Life with William Randolph Hearst. In it, she wrote, "Right before the war, the president of the Philippines was up. He found out by the grapevine route that we had 2 Filipino cooks, possibly Dally and Andrew Carpio, and they were the first people he wanted to see. I thought he was rather sweet." She goes on to write, "The cooks were so flustered that they mixed everything up. I couldn't tell what kind of food we got. They were so excited. It tasted good, whatever it was." In the Philippines, as the newly elected president of the Philippines, Quezon unified the islands. He initiated social programs and land reform. He dedicated funds for education, promoted women's suffrage, and established Tagalog as a national language along with English and Spanish. Quezon opened the Philippines to Jewish refugees fleeing fascist regimes in Europe. And by 1941, Quezon was also preparing the country for a Japanese invasion at the outset of World War II. When Japan did invade the Philippines, Quezon, along with General Douglas MacArthur, would evacuate to Corregidor, then to Mindanao, to Australia, and finally the United States. He would set up his government in exile in Washington, D.C. While residing in New York, Manuel Quezon's health would soon start to deteriorate. He had tuberculosis. On August 1st, 1944, he would pass away. And like the American President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he also would not see the end of his presidency or the end of the war. Today, Manuel Quezon is buried in Quezon City, the city he helped plan in the 1930s to replace Manila as the capital of the Philippines, perhaps planned and created based on his experiences in Washington, D.C., New York City, and maybe even Hollywood. Manuel Quezon, Filipino patriot, statesman, distinguished world leader, and a guest at Hearst Castle here in San Simeon.